In this week's episode of On My Shelf, I'm talking about Ursula LeGuin's old fantasy series that I just discovered, Brene Brown's newest book, a membership community I just joined called Platform University, and the workout magic of Lindsay Brin. I'll also give you a bit of an inside look at my NaNoWriMo book, My Brother Oliver. I just discovered the Earthsea Cycle, a high fantasy series by Ursula LeGuin. This young adult series begins with A Wizard of Earthsea, which follows the adventures of Ged, a young man coming of age in a magical world where words and names have power. It's all about Ged finding himself as a young man and a magician. He takes a dangerous journey that tests his courage and identity, but ultimately shows him who he is. The book is full of life metaphors and hidden truths, and is just a fantastic read. LeGuin created a stunning world and weaves themes of identity, hope, and perseverance into a brilliant story. One of my favorite quotes from the book is this: "A man who, knowing his whole true self, cannot be used or possessed by any power other than himself, and whose life, therefore, is lived for life's sake and never in the service of ruin or pain or hatred or the dark." I recently started the second book in this trilogy, and will probably be sharing my thoughts on it soon. I also just started Brene Brown's newest book, Rising Strong. Brown is a shame researcher who has an inside look at the human condition. Her newest book is just as good as her other books. It has so much wisdom in it about how we deal with emotions and our pasts, and how shame gets a stronghold in the stories we tell about our pasts. She says, "You either walk into your story and own your own truth, or you live outside your story, hustling for your worthiness." There's way too much to quote in this book, but this was one of my favorite lines. This is such an important book on the human condition, and I would highly, highly recommend it. I mentioned last week that I've been a student of Michael Hyatt for a while. Hyatt is a platform guru and shares articles on how to build effective platforms. Something I didn't mention last week is that he runs Platform University, which is an inside look at all kinds of strategies and tips for growing a successful platform. I recently joined this community and have already, in the first few days, learned so much about ways I can connect more with my audience. I highly recommend Platform University if you have a message you want to get out into the world. Unfortunately, membership has closed for this year, but Hyatt usually opens it up every year. You can find out more on his website, which is a great resource all on its own. I debated about sharing this here, but people have been asking more questions about how I stay healthy as a mom and a writer. I mentioned in episode 7 that I have a standing desk where I do most of my writing, but that's not all. I also do aerobic activity, mostly inside my home, because taking a trip to the gym requires too much time, and I hardly ever have enough time at the end of my day to get outside the house and run like I used to do when I only had 2 kids. So a couple of years ago, I found exercise expert Lindsay Brin after doing a Google search about diastasis recti, which is something that happens to some women in pregnancy. Lindsay, at the time, had a blog about her journey into motherhood, including a very brave post about what her body looked like after she had kids. I was drawn to her immediately because of her bravery. Lindsay has many different exercise programs on the market, but the 2 I use are under her Pretty Fierce umbrella. Pretty Fierce is an interval training program that is challenging and effective, but what I love most about it is that Lindsay is a mom and understands how we only have so much time in a day, so she fills those 30 or 45 minutes she asks of her customers with the most effective exercises she can come up with. It's a great use of time, and my kids sometimes even enjoy doing it with me. This week I started writing my novel for National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. Every November, NaNoWriMo comes around to challenge authors to write a whole novel, or 60,000 words, in 30 days. I've chosen to write a kidlit book called My Brother Oliver, and I'm totally falling in love with it. It's about this boy named Brooks, who has an older brother named Oliver, who is an Asperger's kid. They've just moved to a new school because of something Oliver did that got him kicked out of his old school. Brooks is determined to be one of the popular kids. He never was at his old school because of his brother Oliver. This book is going to be so important. It deals with the other, the outsiders, and the marginalized, the kind of kids other kids see as weird and different. It deals with emotions and hard choices and trying to be who you were made to be instead of who everybody expects you to be. I've connected so deeply with this story that in the first week alone, I cranked out 37,863 words. That sounds like an insane amount of words, and it's not often that I write that many words on one novel in a week. But I think what I've learned in this experience is that when it's the right time to tell the story, and when we connect deeply with the message the story holds, we will most likely write faster than we've ever written before. I've broken all kinds of personal records, and I think it's because this story is the right one right now. I'm just so excited and can't wait to share more of it with you. For more about what I do and the projects I'm working on, sign up for my email newsletter. If you have any questions about writing or who I am or what kinds of books I'm reading, leave them in the comments and I might get to them in future episodes. I could talk about books all day, so let's start a conversation. And for more on my shelf, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.